Okay, so I just want to say a few things about today's lesson. So with today's lesson, we're working at changing and helping the relationship between the front side of the body and the back side. So your flexors and extensors. So in sitting, in ideal sitting, we want to find a place where the skeleton is doing the work and not the muscles. When we are sitting in a poor posture, let's call it, when I'm more rounded like this, right? My muscles have to do more of the work and do the work of the spine, right? So the spine and the pelvis are our weight-bearing structures in sitting, right? So if ideal sitting should be one that counteracts gravity easily. So if my head is stacked over my spine, right? And my spine is stacked over my pelvis, then sitting is easy. I can maintain it for a long period of time, but sitting becomes hard and then pain arises when we're doing things like this. One, shortening the back of the neck, right? The muscles are doing the muscles in the back of the neck are doing the job of the cervical vertebrae, of the vertebrae in your neck, right? If I have a longer neck, or the distance between the back of my skull and the base of my spine here, if this is longer, then my neck, these muscles aren't contracted, right? A lot of people have tension and headaches and things that go wrong here because they're constantly contracted like this. They're constantly like this, right? So this lesson is about how do we let our abdomen out in order to help with movements of the arms, right? In order to help with movements of reaching, right? If I'm rounded like this, reaching is very hard because I'm just using my shoulder. I'm just using my smaller muscles instead of using the power of the back, the power of the pelvis. Okay, so for this lesson, sit on a chair, have your pelvis and your hip joints either level with your knees or slightly above your knees, and see if you can find a chair that doesn't have any armrests on it. So, and also one that's not so padded. This one has some padding, but find one that's where you can, because the less padding, the more clearly you can feel your sits bones. Okay, so first of all, just come to the edge of the chair and just feel how you're sitting. Notice your two sits bones. And feel if your pelvis is rolled more forwards or more backwards, and just feel how your pelvis is kind of tilted. Is it tilted more forwards or backwards? Feel your two shoulders. Feel your right shoulder and your left shoulder. And then just start by just placing your right hand slowly behind your head and looking at your right elbow. So you're gonna just turn your head so the back of the head goes to the left and your eyes and face go to the right to look at the right elbow, and then come back. So you're just slowly rolling your head to the right, looking at it, and then coming back. Have a light pressure on the back of your head with your hand. And now start slowly turning backwards at the same time. So as you look at your right elbow, you're going to bring your right elbow back behind you just slightly. Start with a small movement. Don't do a big movement. Just a tiny movement, moving it backwards, twisting your spine slightly. Looking back at your elbow as you turn back. Coordinate the two movements so they happen at the same time. So as you twist and turn and look at your elbow, the spine twists just a little bit. And then leave that alone and just rest. You can sit back in your chair and just rest for a moment. Take a breath. And then come forward again. Scoot to the edge of your chair. Sit on your sits bones. And now again, bring your right hand behind your head. Look at the right elbow as you turn your head, and this time you're going to take your right elbow backwards and start pointing it up towards the ceiling. Start with, again, a small movement, and then come back. And just start small where you're pointing it up towards the ceiling, taking it back and turning your head, rolling your head on your hand. Go nice and slow. And feel if there's anything you can do with your pelvis to help with this movement. Can you roll your pelvis forward a little? What are you doing with your abdomen? Are you holding your abdomen in or out? And notice, is your pelvis rolled more forward, or does your pelvis roll forward or backwards as you do this movement, as you bring your elbow up? And then come back, rest with your arm down. You can either rest on the front of your chair or just lie back for a moment in your chair. Rest on the back of your chair, whatever's more comfortable for you. And now, take your left hand, put it behind your head. So this time with your left hand. And again, start with just rolling and looking at the elbow. So you're just going to roll your hand, roll your head, look at the left elbow, come back to the middle. Roll your head, the back of the head goes to the right now, face goes to the left, you look at the left elbow. Feel what you're doing with your breathing. If at any point during any of these movements you start noticing you're holding your breath, do less. Do a smaller movement, do less force, use less force, and make sure you're breathing, because we want to learn these new movement patterns and make sure they're easy and not holding your breath, right? And so now start taking the left elbow backwards, start taking it backwards, and then come back. And do it at the same time. So as you look at your elbow, you take the elbow backwards. And see if you can breathe out as you do that. So you take the elbow backwards as you look at it. And now start taking it up towards the ceiling. So now you're going to look at your elbow, take it backwards, and point it up a little bit towards the ceiling. And again, start with a small movement. Don't do your full range of motion. Just do what's comfortable for you. Make sure your breathing's easy. And make sure you look at your elbow. Follow the elbow with your eyes as you point up. And then just rest with your hand down for a moment. Feel how you're sitting on your sits bones. And now, so when we think of ideal sitting, or I guess you could call it good posture, right? So one of the main things is that the skeleton is organized over itself. So the sits bones, the pelvis is stacked directly below the spine, and the spine is stacked directly below the head. So everything is stacked underneath of itself. So the skeleton holds you up. Poor posture that uses unnecessary effort, is posture where, you're rounded or slouched. And here, why this is more poor posture is because now the muscles are doing the job of the skeleton. So now my abdomen, right, my spine is more in a C if I'm rounded like this, and now your abdomen is doing more of the work. So what this lesson that we're doing now is we're trying to feel that abdomen coming forward, feel the abdomen dropping towards the floor as you do these movements, okay? And let's demonstrate that. Let's do this movement poorly. So put your hand behind your head, right? And so now we're gonna slouch. So you can slouch a little back into your chair, have your spine rounded, have your pelvis rolled back. So you're tucking your tailbone in, right? And now do the movement without your spine. So now we're just going to look at the elbow. Just look at the elbow and just turn in the neck, right? Or you can even be away from, try it away actually from the back of your chair where you're rounded and you're just turning, trying to point the elbow up at the ceiling. Go gently, right? But already, just a few movements, I feel already that my shoulder and neck is really overworking, right? I'm not participating with, my ribs aren't moving, my spine's not moving, my pelvis isn't helping. So it's all the work is being done in your shoulder and your neck, right? So that's not what we want. What we want to learn is to distribute the effort evenly through the whole length of the spine and through the whole body, right? So now try again, but this time roll your pelvis forward, let your abdomen drop. Feel like your abdomen's a ball and you're dropping it between your legs a little bit, right? And now with your abdomen free like that, using your lower back, feel that you have to use your lower back, and you look up at the elbow, right? You look up at the elbow, use your pelvis, free your ribs. That's it. Use the length of your spine. That feels nice. And then just rest. Sit back into your chair and just rest. Take a few breaths. So really this lesson is learning to have a more efficient and organized relationship between the front side of your body and the back side of your body. So the front side, the front muscles, the flexors, and the back muscles, the extensors, right? So in ideal sitting or well-organized sitting, the relationship is harmonious. It's in an equilibrium. One isn't working harder than the other per se, or less or more, but the spine is really more in a neutral position, right? So now come back to the edge of the chair. This time interlace your fingers, put them behind your head, and just start with a small movement. Roll your head, the back of the head goes to the left, you look to the right elbow and come back. Roll your head, look to the right elbow and come back. Do that a few times where you're just looking to the right elbow, you're rolling your head. Make sure your breathing's easy. Make sure you're doing it softly, slowly. There's no rush. Let the movements do the work. Don't strain yourself. Now start dropping the left elbow between the legs as you look at the right elbow. So you're going to look up at the right elbow and just start dropping the elbow in that direction. It's a direction, not a destination. So you're just starting to drop the left elbow down, right elbow goes up to the ceiling, and then you come back. And do not strain. Do not strain. It's very easy to push yourself further than where it's comfortable in this configuration. And just feel again here, let your belly be free. Let your belly move out. So that's where you can really use the spine and use the lower back. That's where you can really engage it, when your belly is free. And now just rest. Rest in sitting. Feel your sits bones. Feel if sitting just feels a little clearer. Now interlace your fingers in the non-habitual way. So without thinking, put your fingers together, and then you're going to move them over one spot, right? So your thumb is going to go over and each finger is going to go over. So interlace in the non-habitual way. Put your hands behind your head. And again, start by just rolling your head, looking at the left elbow. Back of the head goes to the right. Your eyes look to the left elbow. Just start with a few movements like that. Make sure you're going easy, soft movements. This is really a crucial thing, to just go soft and easy. Right? You're contracting and then letting go of the muscles. You're lengthening and shortening the muscles. And it's not so much about stretching them, but it's about giving them more information. Okay, so now start taking the left elbow back. Start with a slow, small movement and taking the right elbow down between your knees. So you're going to take the left elbow up and back, right elbow down towards in between your knees. Let your breathing be easy. Make sure you're dropping the bit. See, it's easy to feel your belly come up and contract, right? So make sure you're dropping that belly down, letting it be free. And then just rest. Rest for a moment. Let your arms down and rest. And now, slowly again, interlace your fingers, put them behind your head. What you're going to do is combine the two movements. So one time, look up at your right elbow as you take the left elbow between your knees. Come back to the neutral, the middle, and then take your right elbow down in between your legs as you roll your head and look up at the left elbow. Go back and forth. Make it easy. Feel the use of your back. The length of your spine is working, right? This is really crucial to use the whole length of the spine here. Again, we can try it just so we can feel the difference. If I were to round my back, if I were to round like this, and then not use my spine, oh my gosh, pain and misery. Absolutely miserable, right? So this, and when I'm not using my spine, it's not, the effort and is not distributed between the length of the spine. So now use the whole spine with this movement and it becomes easy, right? You drop one elbow, drop the other elbow. Come back, rest. Let the arms go, just rest. Again, feel how your sits bones are making contact with the chair. Without changing, just feel your breathing. And now, start with a small movement, but what we're going to do is first side bend to the right. So the right side is going to get shorter of your ribs and the left side is going to get longer. Then you're going to take the right elbow and direct it down towards the floor in between your legs. And now start with a small movement of moving the left elbow in this position. So you're going to first side bend to the right, then twist, take the elbow between the legs, and start with a small movement of moving the left elbow as if to touch the back of the chair. You're not going to touch. Do not force yourself to touch, but in that direction. Start with a small movement and go back and forth. So move the right elbow down and like you're going to touch the floor. You're not going to, but just in that direction. And then the left elbow to the back of the chair. And go back and forth. Make sure you breathe. Make it easy. Go back and forth, nice and slow. And now after you've done that a few times, nice and slowly, back and forth, then come to like the direction of moving the left elbow to the back of the chair, come to the direction, and just stay where it's comfortable. Don't force and really strain to touch the back of the chair, but just stay where it's comfortable. And then start to brush the dust off the back of your chair with the left elbow, back and forth, and feel that if you can't touch, just imagine there's a stick attached to your elbow and you're just brushing it off slightly, back and forth, just a few times. Make it easy, just a few times. Continue to breathe. Untwist yourself, untwist your spine, let your hands down and rest. That's a very extreme twist, so just give yourself a rest. Let your arms, maybe shake out your arms a bit. Just rest for a moment. See, all these movements, you're just giving your spine so much new information. These movements, waking up all the vertebrae that you've probably never done it in this extreme or twist. And so it just gives more information to the muscles and to the vertebrae, to how you use your spine. Interlace your fingers in a non-habitual way, put them behind your head. And now bend to the left, slowly twist, take your left elbow in the direction, it's just a direction, between your knees. So right, you side bend to the left, and then you take the left elbow down. And now here, same thing as other side. Slowly you're going to take your right elbow, like you're going to touch the top of the back of the chair, and then take the left elbow down in between the legs. Go back and forth like this. Go really easy, really soft. Do not force yourself to touch either. It's just a direction. If you can touch, great. If not, great. It doesn't matter. So just go back and forth. Feel that, right? So feel that your pelvis is rolled forward. You go into side bending on the left side. Then you twist your spine and do this movement. So you're staying in this configuration and then doing this movement. Now, imagine you have something attached to your right elbow and stay back there. So stay with the right elbow towards the back of the chair, and now start dusting off the back of the chair with that right elbow. Go back and forth. Make sure your breathing is easy and you're continually breathing. And then untwist yourself, let your arms down, and rest. Take a few breaths. Now take your left hand, plant it in between your 2 feet. Bend down, plant your left hand in between your 2 feet. Yeah, you can still see me, okay. And now take the right arm and slowly start opening it up towards the ceiling. Follow the hand with your eyes. So you're going to open up, look at the hand, follow it towards the ceiling, and then come back down to the floor. Do that a few times where you open up, you bring the arm, direct it towards the ceiling, the right arm, and then you bring it down. And see if you can get to a point where it's comfortable to have a line between the two arms, right? So the right arm and the left arm create a line. And now with this line, left hand planted on the floor. Don't take the left hand off and don't take your feet off. Make your hand into a fist and start drawing circles in the air on the ceiling. Imagine you're drawing a few circles. Make it nice and slow. Look at the hand. Have your breathing easy. Feel how this is really just differentiating your shoulder blade and your arm. Just a few movements. And then come down. Just rest for a moment with both hands on the floor, then come back up. And now slowly take your hand and twist it inwards and outwards. So you're twisting the thumb inwards and outwards. Do that a few times, twisting it in and twisting it out. Twisting it in, twisting it out. It's that punching movement, right? Boxers, when they punch, the thumb twists in. And leave that alone. Untwist, come back up to sitting, and rest. Take a breath. Just rest. You can rest on the back of your chair. And then slowly come to the edge of the chair. On your sits bones, take the right hand, place it down on the floor, and start with a few movements. First off, of just bringing the left hand up towards the ceiling and then back down. Bringing the left hand up towards the ceiling and then back down. Feel how this configuration, the constraints of it, your feet on the ground, your hand on the ground, it forces you really to move in certain areas you probably haven't moved in a while. And now take your left hand up, make a line between the left hand and the right arm. Make your left hand into a fist, looking at the hand, and draw circles. Make sure the circles are even. So go as much to the right as you go down, as you go left, and as you go up. So feel if there's any spots of the circle where you go more. So see if you can even it out and make it the same distance. Just do a few circles. Make sure you're breathing. And then come back down. Hand down, untwist. Take a breath, bring your hand back up towards the ceiling now. Twist the thumb inwards and outwards a few times. Twist the thumb in, then twist it out, then twist it in, then twist it out. That punching movement. And see, continue to look at that left hand. And now come back, untwist yourself. Come back into sitting and just rest. Rest in sitting. Feel your breathing, feel your sits bones, if you feel you're sitting more clearly on your sits bones. And now, coming back to the first movement we did, so come to the edge of your chair, make sure you're sitting, just sit how you feel, what is ideal for you. Just see if you can find the ideal for you, where you're sitting on your sits bones. Take your right hand, put it behind your head, and just start slowly by pointing it up to the ceiling. And see if that's easier. Feel if that's any easier, moving the elbow back, pointing it up to the ceiling. That feels much easier for me, but feel for you, right? It might be different for you. You might not feel anything, and that's okay, but see if it feels different, if doing these variations has changed that. Then take your left elbow, put it behind the head, look at the left elbow, point it up to the ceiling. Feel if that's easier also for you. It feels easier for me. It feels more comfortable for me. Excellent. Slowly stand up and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining me for today's lesson at Move to Thrive. I hope it benefited you in some way.